So what we're going to do is I'm just going to show you some of the things that I work on or how I look at and approach, sheetrock projects. My goal today is to try and get all of the sheetrock screw holes filled. You can go through and do your mudding and taping, your seams all at one time. You can do whatever it is you want to do. It's entirely up to you. The reason I'm not tackling the sheetrock seams right now, even though that would seem, pun intended, or partially intended, that would seem to be the right thing to do. The reason I'm not doing that right now is, again, because of time. I don't have a lot of time to go through and get those seams just right. And when I start doing my seams, I want to do all of my seams at one time. Okay? I don't have to do all of the screw holes for the sheetrock mud at one time. And truthfully, of all of them, the sheetrock mud on the screws is the easiest. It goes the quickest, I'll be honest. In terms of drying time, it also dries the fastest usually too. The mudding and taping of your seams, however, that's going to take longer to dry. That's normal. That's okay. So I'm not going to get to that. Now this evening, whenever we return from Fort Smith, I will clear more stuff out of here. We'll put it back into the living room space and I will hit the rest of it. But I just can't spend a couple hours doing nothing. So I've got to make a little bit of headway here on my, at least on this, because this is going to take time for these things to dry, no matter what I do. You're trying to get the sheetrock screw to where it is barely below the surface, all right? And the reason is that sheetrock is basically a composite material. It's a sandwich, all right? It's not a very tasty sandwich, but it's a sandwich all the same. On one side, you have paper. And on the other side, you have paper. And in the middle, you have a lot of this, material here. Again, a sandwich that's basically formed here. Now, the stuff in the middle is hard, but brittle. The stuff on the outside is soft and flexible. So really what we're looking for here is an example of something like this right here. See? That is slightly below the surface of the drywall. Whenever you're working on drywall and you're trying to get your screws just right, you're looking for something that is essentially just a little bit concave. All right, you want it to be below the surface. So whenever I'm coming through here, see that? It actually goes above the screw. Okay, I'm not making any contact with it. All I need to do is to go along and scrape. And any place I hear a hit, I know that I have a screw that is a little bit above the surface. So what I'm trying to do is to get to all of those screws. That's it. I'm just going through here, and any of those areas where I have that, you can use a drill if you want to. And all I'm doing is just taking my drill, and in this case here, we have this one. There we go. So my goal here is to have all of the screws to where they are slightly below the surface of the drywall. To where when I come along, I'm not hitting them. And if I hear a hit, like I do here, you can either take the drill. I'll be honest, at this stage, I prefer just a good old-fashioned, good quality or decent quality Phillips screwdriver. This also gives me the chance, too, of checking to see if I have any spots or spaces here where it's actually not hitting a stud. All right. So if I go to put, to screw this in a little bit more and it just keeps screwing, it's not going any deeper, I know there's no stud behind that. So in that situation, I'll just back the screw out and take it out. There's no point in it being there. It's just, just one more obstacle for me to have to deal with later on in my final mudding or sanding. Just going through real quick, and this process does not take that long. This is one here. All it does is just keep turning. That's a problem. So whenever that happens, remove it. What do you do whenever you are installing or going to install your sheetrock or your whatever finished material that you're going to use on your walls? How do you protect your wiring behind the wall? Obviously, we're putting screws in these studs all through here. How do we know we're not going to accidentally end up screwing into a wire, for example? So these come in handy, all right? So what these are basically stud protectors for your wiring. All you do, whenever you are putting your wiring through, every area that you're having to drill a hole and then chase wire through, you put one of these in front of that hole whenever you're done. It takes a second. It's actually got four little cleats in here. Hammer those into it, and then there's a couple little screw holes right here where you can put some little short screws into it if you need to. I'll be honest, these are not going to back out easily. And once the sheetrock goes up, they're not going to move at all. All right, so sometimes you're going to notice whenever you're doing your mudding that you might end up, like example here, I went through and did this one, and lo and behold, it's still visible. And the reason it's still visible is because that one is one that we missed, okay? Oh, okay. I got one here. Sorry. That's one that we missed. So what I'm doing is I'm just basically removing all the joint compound that I just put on there and just going ahead and giving it another turn or so, and then we're good to go. That's simple. So very easy to fix if you do that. Again, just be aware that, of course, if that happens, you do want to scrape away what's there and then go ahead and backfill it. So not a hard thing to do, but something to keep in mind. All right, I'll keep off one. Thank you. You can resume. This is one here that actually really was below the surface a little bit, but not enough. So on it, same process, remove all the excess. It actually pretty well clears it. So if you can barely hear it when it clips it. So we're just going to go through and tighten this one up just a little bit more. That's why I try to keep a screwdriver handy with me whenever I am doing this. And like I said, sometimes these things will back out a little bit too. Whenever you're screwing in screws somewhere else, it may affect other areas that you've already come through and tightened up. Yeah. So. I don't know if you mentioned what they're doing when they're screwing in. They're using like a little knife or something like this here. They're just kind of going across to make sure we're not scraping. Mm-hmm. So we know that when we do the mudding part, that we'll know we're just likely not going to hit. Doesn't mean it's going to be perfect, but it does give us a good indicator that's going to be okay. If you have any of these areas that are like that, where you have gone through and put some joint compound on, take you some high grit sandpaper. I would say 220 or above, and just go through and just lightly sand those areas. That will help to ensure that you don't have to worry about any of that joint compound interfering with your mudding and your taping. That you have a good flat zone for it to be able to go to. Now, a couple screws over here. These were not caught during my first round through. Same thing again. Take that screwdriver, put in there, make sure we're good to go. A little bit of joint compound in there, and we're good. And this process, the sheetrock screws goes quick. Whenever you're tightening those up and backfilling those, that part goes very quick. Mudding and taping of the joints, that's what takes longer, and that there's a lot more involved with the mudding and taping of the joints. Can you rotate that? Huh?
I was about to add to it, just saying that, there's a lot more, tedious work that's involved with the sink and such. So you want to take your time while you're actually doing that. You do. Because you want to make it look good. You do a messy job, it don't look like a messy job, so don't rush it.
Don't overuse your joint compound. So, if you've got areas where it really is, where you're using a lot of joint compound, first round through, you don't want to overuse it. What you're looking for is you're looking for it to basically come through, cover that area up nice, and a little bit will go a long way, okay? A little bit of a hole that keeps wanting to form there. We can fix that later. But, so basically you'll go through and just do that and clean off that excess, get rid of any of the excess. That way you don't have a lot. So the more that you put on there, the more you got to sand off. All right. If you got one big area that looks like that,
you're going to regret it later.
Yeah, you're going to come back later on and here you're sanding. We don't want that. So be aware of that. All right. We're just going to continue working through here and try to knock out all of these holes. We got these. We got the ones on the ceiling to do still. Those are going to be the fun ones, yes. And the goal today is to get all of the screws covered. That is the first goal. And then once the screws are done, then I'll be working on the tape seams, the joint compound for the tape seams afterwards. So.
Hey y'all, Allie Carey here. Me, my grandfather, and Jonathan is going to be working on screwing these screws here and mudding the screw holes. While my dad is gone, they're going to town, and they'll be coming back a little later, and he'll be working on the mudding seams by that time. Hopefully that is, so we can finish this up. So you're going to see us mostly in this video from here on out. So we're going to be mudding over here on this section here. We went ahead and turned the power off because we didn't want to risk us, getting electrocuted, because that's not fun. So we went ahead and turned that off, and we're going to work on this side right here and finish this up. So the lights are currently out, so we'll be turning that back on after we finish this side. So John is going through and screwing in the rest of these screws. I'm going to work on with him. My grandfather, he's currently working on starting with mudding. This is the ones we've already done, so we can kind of see what we missed. So that's what we're doing right now. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys a little update of where we're currently at sitting right now. So I just got done over here, putting in the mudding and over here, and Jonathan helped put in the screws. So all through here has all the screws in, and I got that little section up here on the top of here, so that way we don't have to worry about messing over here as much, because this right here is hot, and so, because we don't want to touch that, because that might not be very fun. So we went ahead and went around that. My grandpa's working it this way, going that way, and Jonathan's currently up there.